Welcome to our continuing study in the book of Revelation. We're now in the sixth trumpet, this mighty angel that John sees. Here in verse 1 he describes it. He says he saw a mighty angel come down from heaven, clothed with a cloud, with a rainbow upon his head. Face was as it were the sun. Now these descriptors are all heavenly in nature and character, and of course we've already looked at the seals that reflected the nature of Adam, the nature of rebellion. We've looked at the trumpets, which are vengeance from God for the treatment of Israel, speaking of the second age. And now we're looking at this angel in the transitional sixth trumpet that that pertains to the ecclesia, the Church of Jesus Christ. If you don't understand that, you might want to go look at the previous studies in this series. Now it says his feet were as pillars of fire, and that reminds us, of course, of the period when Moses led the children of Israel out of Egypt. There was this pillar of fire that separated them from Pharaoh's army, kept them safe from the Pharaoh's army. It also led them through the Red Sea and guided them in their wandering in the wilderness of Arabia. So I believe these pillars of fire on the feet of this mighty angel are poignant in that at the time in Egypt, that was called the Exodus because they left their slavery in Egypt. And of course, these pillars of fire here remind us that this is preceding a period where the church will have their exodus from this life, from this world. It says he had in his hand a little book opened. Now we're going to touch on this a little later in greater depth, but right now I just want you to note the book is open, and he's probably making reference to it in these pronouncements he's about to make. It says his right foot was upon the sea, left foot upon the earth. Now, I know this is kind of an obscure psalm, but David wrote this probably hundreds of years before the return from the Babylonian captivity, and he had no way of anticipating the diaspora or the return from the diaspora. But the return from captivity did not involve blood, did not involve the vengeance or wrath of God, like verse 1 would infer. Instead, it was very peaceful. Cyrus just let them go. So, what is this verse in reference to? Well, let's take a look at it. It says he'll bring his people from Bashan, from the depths of the sea. That's quite a parallel to this angel, which is right foot on the land. I'm sorry, right foot on the sea, left foot on the earth. Now, Bashan is just the highest habitable part in Israel, and of course, the depths of the sea. Nobody really lives there, so it's a very poetic way of saying, I'll bring my people from high and low, from land and sea. And of course, that's what we have going on here in Revelation 10. I believe these pillars of fire will serve the same purpose, and they will guide and lead his people from wherever they might be, sea or land, high and low. They'll take part in the exodus from this earth. Now, he cried with a loud voice as when a lion roareth. Now, that's a tripwire term. We saw the lion and these four living creatures before God's throne, the lion being associated with the kingdom age. So that's a slam dunk. Now it says, he sware by him that liveth forever and ever. Well, who's this? By the way, who created heaven and the earth and the sea? Well, who created the heavens and the earth and the sea? Well, that would be God, of course. More specifically, the Hebrew word in Genesis 1:1 is Elohim. In John 1:1, we have a greater insight into this. In the beginning was the Word was with God, the Word was God. All things were made by him. Without him was not anything made that was made, including the earth, the sea, the heavens, and all that therein is. Now, the Word was made flesh, dwelt among us. There's no escaping the conclusion. This is referring to Jesus Christ. Now, it says when he had cried, 7 thunders uttered their voices. Now, John would have written down what they said, but he was told, write them not. What are the 7 thunders uttered? Well, for us it's speculation. Only John knows, and he ain't telling. So let's take a look, see if we can extrapolate the nature and character of their pronouncements. Now the angel which John saw stand upon the sea and the earth lifted up his hand to heaven and sware by him who liveth forever and ever. Who is this? The guy who created all things. Okay, we looked at that. Now, and then he makes the statement that there should be time no longer. Time for what? Well, there's no more waiting, actually. I believe that what's in this little book what's in this little book is a record of all things that were fulfilled as written by the prophets, uh, pertaining to the transfer of the earth back to uh, Jesus Christ. See, Adam lost everything that God invested in him. He lost his dominion. He lost his title of God of this world. It was usurped by Satan. And God said that the seed of the woman would crush the serpent's head. And I think everything that the prophets prophesied concerning the redemption of not only the people who come to God, but also the earth itself and Adam's dominion would be accomplished. And here, this book, I think that's what was in the book, the documenting the fulfillment of the prophets, and we're going to have the mystery of God when the final angel sounds. Now, we're going to take a quick look at Hebrews 1, and you'll see why. It says, God, who at sundry times and in divers manners spoken in time past to the fathers by the prophets, hath in these last days spoken to us by his Son, whom he hath appointed heir of all things, by whom he also made the worlds. See, made the worlds is really a lousy translation. I'll show you why. Here's the three words translated made the worlds. Now, apoiosin is a verb, of course. Now, Greek is an inflected language, so if you're going to change the voice, number, anything on the word, you're going to put an infix or a prefix or a suffix, and this word has all three. This is actually a form of the word poieo, and the bottom there it says definition. It means to make, manufacture, construct, do, act, cause. Matter of fact, there's a whole bunch of ways that this word is translated, and here they are. So it's not limited at all to the word made or make. Now, the next word we're going to look at is the word ionos. It's also an inflected word, and it's a verb. I'm sorry, it's a noun, of course, and it's a form of the word ion, which sounds familiar to you because our English word eon comes from this word, and it always means a period of time. Now, there have been scholarly eggheads in the past who have made the case that it should be translated worlds, but you know what? Never, ever in the Bible should it be translated worlds. I've looked at all the instances. It should always be translated a period of time. So, if we change this phrase to frame the ages, this becomes an awesome verse. It's one of my favorite verses in the Bible. God, who at sundry times spoke in times past, hath in these last days spoken us to by his Son, by whom he framed the ages. So this is like a mind-blowing kind of, whoa, how do you really see this, kind of verse, because the one who framed the ages, acted in time. It's just a mind-blowing verse when you understand it in its correct translation. But anyway, what I'm getting at is God, in Acts 17:26, says God hath determined the times before appointed. And of course, his Son, he hath appointed heir of all things, by whom also he framed the ages. It's just a mind-blowing set of circumstances, and it takes a while to get your mind around it. But it's really awesome. Spend some time with it. But if Jesus Christ framed the ages, of course, he knew that this time was coming where the earth would be transferred back to the jurisdiction and the venue and jurisdiction of the one who paid the price to redeem what Adam lost. Anyway, seventh angel sounded, great voices in heaven, saying, the kingdoms of this world are become the kingdoms of our Lord and his Christ, and he shall reign forever. This is after the sounding of the last trump. This is what the mighty angel in the sixth trumpet was anticipating, because after the sounding of the final trumpet, the mystery of God is going to come to pass, and that is the redemption of everything Adam lost. Now, verse 17, you have taken to thee your great power and hast reigned. Now, the kingdoms. This is the transfer of all the kingdoms of this world. Any authority structure, any authority system is now translated, back to Jesus Christ. He's taken to his power and he has reigned. And here are some words describing what's going on. The nations were angry. Thy wrath is come at the sounding of the seventh trumpet, Um, no longer does Satan have any authority. Um, now it's time for God's wrath, God's judgment, and the giving of rewards to his servants, the prophets. And this, oh yeah, we're going to look a little further at the book he had open in his hand. Here's the remainder of the passages pertaining to this mighty angel, and it involves this book. John is told to take the book out of the angel's hand and eat it, and it's going to be sweet in his mouth, bitter in his belly, and he did it, and it was. Now, what's this talking about? And I think it's talking about the fact that when following this time, Israel is going to remain on the earth. Now, you know, at the last trump, the church, the ecclesia, those born from above are going to be taken into heaven. We call it the rapture. It's actually known as the first resurrection. And but Israel's going to remain on the earth, and I think that's going to be a bitter time. So yeah, it's sweet in his mouth because it's all things are restored, redeemed by Jesus Christ, and they become, you know, all authority and all kingdoms become his. But it's bitter because Israel is going to remain on the earth. Satan is going to be cast to the earth, and so at the end of that whole mess, when the Son of Man shall come in his glory with all the holy angels with him, then he shall sit upon the throne of his glory, and before him shall be gathered all nations. Now this is after all that stuff, after Satan is released, and you know, he's cast out of heaven to the earth. He foments rebellion, and he beheads all those who receive redemption. And of course, the Jews are in the world during this time, the 144,000, and probably others. And so the judgment, when he comes in his glory, the judgment on the earth will be on the basis of how people treated the Jews. And here's the remainder of the passage. Now, I didn't put all the verses in here. I cherry-picked because I wanted to keep it short. But those who treated the Jews well get a pass. They enter into the kingdom age. And those who didn't, those who mistreated them, of course, will be dispatched from the earth into everlasting punishment. Now, the very last line there, you see where it says, verse 46, and these shall go away into everlasting punishment, the righteous into eternal life. The word life eternal, that's also a bad translation. See, it's bios ionon. Now, we looked at the word ionion and all the forms of the word ion, and they're all always to be translated a period of time. Okay? So, eternity is not a period of time, it's a forever thing. Now, it's sometimes valid to translate a particular construction. Ionion, proston, ionion, it can be translated life eternal because it's the ages through the ages, but that's not the construction we have here. This should be translated the living age. It's singular, it's not plural, the living age. So the king did speaking specifically of the kingdom age. Okay, next up, the age and witnesses. Fascinating study. These two guys that usher out the age just before the sounding of the last trump. We're not at all done with the sounding of the last trump, by the way. There's numerous events that occur, and it's we're going to have it's an eye-opening study. Now, we're going to call it a day and say goodbye, and God bless.